There's no doubt that New World is on a great path. I don't think anybody would disagree that the game has made massive strides. However, there is still room for improvement. In this video, we're going to talk about everything I think New World still needs. What's up, guys? Steven with Level Up MMO, and as I said this video will be all about what New World still needs, in my opinion, the features and the changes, so let's get into it. First things first, more fluid combat. I think that there is still an issue when it comes to action combat that New World hasn't quite figured out. I do think that it definitely gets clunky sometimes. The desync issues aren't nearly as bad as they once were, and I will give credit for that. However, there are still so many times where you're just like, that didn't feel good. It still feels like the agency of your character is being held back. The decisions you're trying to make and the clicks and the presses just aren't exactly the way that you want them to. And some of this is simply just the animations. And I know, for instance, as a life staff user, I experience this a lot where I have already clicked to fire off a light attack and it takes so long that then, an attack is coming at me. I can't roll, I can't hit my next ability, so on and so forth. They have made the weapon swap a lot better, but even that still has some issues because, again, you're stuck in these animations and you can't really cancel anything. Once it's going, it's going. And I do think that the game could use a much smoother style of gameplay. I know this is difficult to do in action style combat. It's not as simple as tap targeting, but it's still something I would really enjoy seeing. Sticking with something kind of related to combat, tanking. They need to find a way to incentivize people to play tanks. I don't know what this could be, whether that's better tanking rewards or something like that, but they need to do something because getting tanks for expeditions is hard. And I understand people are gonna say, oh, well, if you have a company that runs them a lot, or oh, if you have this, but not everybody is playing the game in that exact way. But if you're somebody who's looking for pickup groups or pugs and you're just posting in recruitment or group finder, sometimes you're waiting 20 or 40 minutes for tanks on a populated server, a server with 2,000 to 2,500 players, and you still have to wait so long to find a tank. I think something needs to change. I know that there's also this thing where people are saying you don't even need a tank. You can kind of set up in light and just run a hatchet and all these. I get it. There are other ways around it, and I don't know if that's the proper solution, but it is one that some people can do. If they are a high caliber player, you're able to pull those things off. But in general, somebody just wanting to play the more traditional tank role, there's not enough. So they need to do something about that. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come up with, but that is a problem, I think, and something that New World needs to work on. Now let's talk about raids. So this is something I think the game needs and something they have already stated is coming and they are actively working on. They said that they had expeditions down. They're comfortable with expeditions, and that means now they're ready to go for raids. They talked about 10 and 20 player raids, and I think this is a massive step for the game and allows for much more end game content and progression and just things to strive for, higher goals to set for people who like that PvE content. I do think they are heading in a more balanced PvP, PvE focus, which I personally enjoy. I know it released with a lot more focus on the PvP, but I'm glad that they've realized, okay, PvE content is important for people, so let's give them more of that. So I'm very excited for raids. I do think it's needed to make this game go to the next level, and I'm happy to hear that they are bringing that. It's not all going to be PvE stuff, though. I want to say that PvP, while fun, can use that combat tuning I mentioned earlier. However, I do still think there needs to be a little more incentive to do it. People complain about arenas and just nobody's running them as much because there's not really a point. OPR gets repetitive to me. I think that, changing up game modes or maybe maps or something to just spice up OPR and to maybe have more value, maybe a rework of the leaderboard or something like that. I know ranked is coming. That will be a big thing. So some of this I think I'm saying is needed. Some of it we know is coming, just like I said with the raids, leaderboards, of course, having that rank going in there is going to spice it up a lot, but a bigger reward. I don't know what that could be exactly, but a rework of the PvP track or just something to make it more rewarding to do PvP, make it more people involved. I also think that maybe just being able to choose one perk, I don't know. I don't want to theory craft at this point. This is just to say that there does need to be a little more incentive for PvP. Something else I would really like to see is something to use your experience on in the end game. I know this has been mentioned a lot by some other folks, but it could be simple stuff. Just, if you're still doing quests, if you're still running expeditions, if you're still doing anything that gains you experience, and that's basically anything in the game, crafting, PvP, whatever it is, that you can actually put that towards something. It doesn't have to be going up levels, gear score, anything like that. It could be you can use that experience. Maybe there's milestones where you can unlock potions. You can just get some extra end-game equipment. You can redeem the experience for tokens that you can use to get, I don't know, PvP gear or dungeon gear, where you can pick a perk or something. I don't know, but some sort of system. Could be anything from gear to just potions to just cosmetics. I don't care. Just allow us to use the experience we're still gaining towards something else, because that's something else to grind for, something else to be like, oh, that would be really cool. Let me put some time in for that, or at least be able to get a reward for the effort and time that I'm putting in. Speaking of that though, how about Mutators 11 through 15? I wouldn't mind if it went much further past that, but I know that that also means that you need a higher gear score or level. So right now, 11 through 15 would be ideal. I do think that that would come with a gear score increase or a level increase. I don't think you could do it in the current state, although some people are running M10s pretty easily, so maybe you could get away with adding 2 to 4, maybe even 5 more levels. I do think that is needed. I also think that's coming. If you look on the Mutators, it goes down to 10, but there's a gap for about 5 spots down below, so I do think we'll see up to M15, and I think that will be really good for the game. Now, with all of these things combined, you have PvP gear, you have expedition gear, you have mutator gear for different expeditions where you need ward for that, ward for this, and so loadouts. This is coming. Loadouts, they've also confirmed, is something they are currently building the systems for and designing, so you will be able to more easily decide or switch between which set you need at that moment without having to individually select each piece, keep track of where you're putting everything. That will just make the game so much better because of the way that it's designed. Something like this is needed because of how many gear sets your character really needs in terms of that horizontal progression. In the same vein, I would like to be able to filter my inventory. I want to be able to actually go up and select decks or something like that and filter my gear by that, so I can find items more easily. Or you can just allow us to have groupings in our inventory. I can literally select, this is for this is for that, and write it in with my own words to just describe it and then be able to filter that way. Right now, it's all just like armor up here, weapons down here. How about I can separate, instead of just locking them, the gear that I don't want to get rid of, and then I can have all new stuff filter into one section. I would like more of that, just because the inventory currently does get really bloated and hard to actually filter through, so something to customize that would be absolutely amazing. Now let's talk about the group finder. So this is kind of connected to what I said before about mutators, but that screen in general, the whole group finder, having to click on the expedition itself to be able to get it to pop up, this could use a rework. I think just having a central place is fine. I also would like to see how many groups or people are looking for that without having to click into it. So currently you have to go to the screen, select M9, click that, go in, find out if a group is there, go back to the other screen, check the next one, so on and so forth. I really think that if they just show like there's one group looking at M9, there are 2 groups looking at M7, that will just make it easier. I don't have to click so many times, filter through everything. There's definitely room for improvement with this, and of course rework that system in general, because right now everybody who's good enough is only running M10s because they don't want to waste their runs, and then the people leveling up typically are at the bottom, and you run into these big empty spots, which I mentioned earlier, and like the M6 through like M9 territory, where simply finding the right people and enough people is really, really difficult. So let's just really revamp that group finder. I think it's a great start, but I definitely think there's room for improvement. And I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting for this, mounts. I actually don't think they're that necessary. I'm gonna go contrary to, I guess, the popular opinion. Unless Brimstone Sands really is that big, and that's what people are saying in Brimstone Sands, you'd want to mount. But in the other zones, if you need a mount to get through Monarch's Bluff, I don't know what to tell you. There are so many shrines everywhere on this map now. Traveling is essentially free. If you can't make it through running for like 30 seconds to your location, you're just lazy. That's all it is. And the world is so beautiful. They did such a great job with the Turnum that the idea that you just want to get through everything faster and faster and faster, unnecessarily, really, I'm just not a huge supporter, because I think a lot of playing the game, going out, doing the gathering and the crafting and all these sorts of things are improved by having to actually explore the world and find out where that orichalcum is, find out where the star metal is, see the tree that you need to cut down. And so for me, mounts are not a super high priority. Sure, they'll be cool, and again, and I understand that Brimstone Sands is very large, but the rest of Eternum, you guys are just lazy, let's be honest here. And so the last thing I want to mention is transmog. I know this is something that is highly requested in the community. This is also something that they have spoken of on the forums. They want to know the best way to do it, and I think most people agree, just copy World of Warcraft. just allow us to basically earn the gear appearance when we pick up that piece of gear. And then of course you have the cosmetics in the shop right now. All you can really do is dye stuff. You have to wear like a set if you're getting it from the shop, and then you can dye the gear that you find, whatever. Just allow us to change everything up. And I think being able to customize your character will just add the value to you wanting to play. It'll make you feel more connected. It'll make you feel more unique. And overall, everybody loves to transmog their character. So a system like that, which I believe is coming, is another one that will be definitely a big step in the right direction for New World. And now's the time for you to sound off in the comments below. Did I miss something? Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree? I want to know. So get down there, let me know your thoughts, features you want to see. And of course, if you enjoy New World content or MMO content in general, subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. And if you want to support me directly, the best way to do that here on YouTube is to become a member by clicking that join button. Thank you all for watching, and as always, good luck in your adventures.